So the reason I'm doing this vlog is I was out getting lunch, um, and if you're curious, I had fried cheese sticks and fish and chips. It was really good. And I checked my phone, and I see Bagel 500, who sort of like an acquaintance friend of mine, said this is the worst interview I've ever heard. And I knew that C9 and Cog were playing at the time, so. Apparently, what happened is the best mid laner for Cognitive Gaming did the interview, and after going back and listening to it, Bagel was right, man. It was really bad. Um, so I want to talk about the situation surrounding that. First of all, let's get it out of the way. Like, this was not a good interview. Bart and Brandon asked thoughtful and interesting questions, and Best deflected them and gave shitty troll answers. Hey man, congratulations on your win. How are you guys doing? He said, I'm good. How are you? Like, um, quotes such as, oh, "What's your cognitive style of play? We just walk around pressing buttons," or um, what was the other one? "What's your plan for land? Oh, we just hope we don't get DDoS." Like, come on, man. But I think what this is really about is and then as a follow up, so Bagel tweeting this, he's like, "This is a really bad interview." Um, Best tweets out, "Bagel 500 is a legit retard, thanks." Which that's just mean. Um, like whatever. So I'm not really commenting about like should Best get fined or whatever. Like it was a bad interview, and you probably shouldn't call people retarded. But whatever. What I do want to talk about is I think esports is, and especially Smite, is in this interesting place. Um, and it's this interesting place where almost out of nowhere, someone who just plays a game for fun, a hobbyist, maybe they play in the Challenger Cup and they take it a bit more seriously, but suddenly they can get an offer like Polar Bear Mike did, um, and they can suddenly become a professional Smite player. Keyword there being professional. It's now their job. It pays pretty well. Elevate the eighth place team, assuming that things continue as they are, will take home $20,000 split 5 ways, which is a lot of money. And that's for the lowest. That's the lowest payout for the eighth team in North America. So it's a job. It's serious, but the issue is that can kind of blindside people. Like sometimes it just doesn't really. It's easy to miss the point that, like, this is a job. You're a professional. You should take this shit seriously. So let's talk about interviews. After the game, it's really cool that Hi-Rez will talk to players, the casters will talk to players, and they'll they'll have a discussion about the game. Um, and you can get a player's perspective, learn some things. Obviously, players aren't gonna be like, "Oh, well, we picked this god because we think it counters these other two gods," and like they're not gonna give away strategies, obviously. But it's not a joke. It's an important part of the broadcast, and it's a big part of why, or and the broadcast is the majority reason why pro players are getting paid at all, right? That's the point of esports, is not to be good, but the point is to put on a show. Um, so it sucks that Best put himself in this situation, but I think what's more interesting is that I think he's a victim in some way. I think like you have to be misunderstanding the circumstances that you're in to make the decisions, or not fully comprehend the circumstances that you're in to make the decisions that he made today. Um, and I think part of that is just not really realizing that being a professional is a job, is something that part of being a professional Smite player is being a professional, I guess, is what I'm saying. I think that's weird, and I think it causes problems, right? So you look at the Challenger Cup, and the Challenger Cup is probably the place where this happens the most because it's on the line, it's blurred. They're not professional, they're competitive or amateur or whatever. And there's still sort of like expected standards of behavior because pretty much anything that involves groups of people has expected standards of behavior, you know? School clubs, companies, whatever. If there's a group of people, there's expected standards of behavior, rules, whether they're written or unwritten. Um, and sort of from my last video, there can be some interesting situations where like people don't fully meet eye to eye on different things because of culture or background or whatever. Um, and it creates situations where people don't really know how to be a professional, right? Like they might be really good at being a Smite player. They might be the best fucking Thanatos in the world, but they don't know how to conduct themselves in a way that is appropriate, I guess, or conduct themselves in the best possible way, like truly live up to what it means to be a professional player. Um man, it's so strange. And I think that for some people, some players, there's this misconception that the primary focus, not even the primary focus, that like the entire focus of their job as a professional player is to play well, be the best. That's not really the point. It's it's a balance between being a really good player and being marketable, because esports drives a lot of the transactions in Smite. The Odyssey creates a lot of transactions, a lot of money for Hi-Rez. Esports chests create money for Hi-Rez and teams and stuff like that. That's really awesome. But then what happens with like that's that's how gives back to the game, right? It's not just, oh, we're handing out $1 million at world championships because people are good at the game and they deserve money. Like it's because the world championships is an event that people attend and watch and take part in, and so it's weird that there are some players that don't really realize or think, or yeah, it's weird that there are some players that like look at their job as a professional Smite player and they think that it is 100% about play, because it is not. And that is kind of obvious. Being a player is the most important part of your job, but like you also you're kind of a performer, right? You have a personality that comes out both through your play and through your presence on social media, and you use that for sponsorships and fans, and you drive consumption of stuff like esports chest, and you breed viewership and team loyalty. You make people care about the game. I guess that's really what the core of it is if you're a professional player, I hope that you love Smite, or you have loved Smite. It gets hard when it's your job. I hope that you love the game. And as a professional player, the core payback of your job, what your job creates for Hi-Rez and for Smite and for the community, is it facilitates and drives people to learn to love the game at a competitive level or a gameplay level or whatever, and that's really cool. And I think a lot of people don't get that, and a lot of people don't know how to do that, but they can learn. And the best example of that is Incon, man. Season 1, before he changed his name to Incon and he was Incondentia, he basically had no presence. And at Worlds, he turned himself around, or not even turned himself around. He just created this social media and stream and YouTube presence that is really awesome. And now Incon has tons of fans. He's doing very well for himself. He's doing very well for the game. And he's a very important cornerstone of Smite esports, which is super cool. And so I think the situation that happened today was really unfortunate because it makes the broadcast look shitty. It makes Best look shitty. It makes Cog look shitty. It makes Bagel look shitty. Whatever. That interview was Bart and Brandon trying to like carry nothing. It was really awkward. Um, what's the solution? First of all, I guess like I don't know who chose for Best from Cognitive to be interviewed, but being careful with who you choose, I guess, whoever made that choice. But I think also that Hi-Rez can do something to prepare players for being professionals. Like, fuck man, send out an email guide like, hey, here's some ways that you can grow your Twitch following, grow your Twitter following, like, here's how you can get fans as a pro player. Because that's really cool, right? The first time you start playing the game professional, the first thing that's awesome is, holy shit, I'm playing against Barracuda, Zapman, whoever. The second thing that's awesome is, holy shit, people are watching me. And eventually, holy shit, I have fans. That's fucking awesome. So I think it would be really cool if Hi-Rez could sort of like push players in that direction and help them. I don't really know what their options are because I mean my team is pretty good about that stuff. But I think really it is hard for a lot of people. I mean, how do you fucking learn how to be an esports personality? I don't know. And I guess that's part of the problem. Um, is that like everyone in esports is making it up as they go, right? And that's starting to become less of a thing. People are starting to get the hang of it, and like there's a process, but it's an industry that is growing right now at a massive pace. And so everyone is learning. There's no rule book. There's no guidelines for a lot of these things. You just got to learn it or figure it out, and that's really weird. So I really hope that that's something that Hi-Rez could help with. I really hope that players pay attention to that sort of thing. As for screening the interview, you shouldn't have to. So what screening an interview would be like, I don't know, some way of figuring out whether or not the player was going to be a good interviewer and like interviewee. And you shouldn't have to do that for two reasons. First of all, no one should be trying to be a bad interviewee. And second of all of the casters, when it comes to interviews, they're really fucking good. Like, considering how little Bart and Brandon had to go on, they still did a really good job. They carried that interview until Best said anything, and then they continued carrying the interview. It was really, if you watch it back, like, man, they kill it. It's like watching a good actor in a shitty 70s action movie or 80s action movie. It's like watching a good actor in you're the barbarian, or what is it? I forget the full title of the movie. Um, right? Like they're doing a good job, but it's shitty for obvious reasons. And I'm not trying to blast Best yet again. I think his mistake was more one of ignorance than anything else. But I don't think anyone likes seeing this happen. Um, yeah. So hopefully, Hi-Rez can do something to help. Hopefully, people realize that this shit matters. If you watch this on YouTube, like and comment and subscribe if you want. I'd love to have a discussion. More vlogs in my yeah really series coming whenever there's drama to talk about. If you watch it on Twitch, let's chat. Hope you enjoy.